Hello, this is Ron Polenic, the owner of Brutal Iron Gym. I'm here for another video in the Ask Rob video series. And today's topic is we're going to talk about a training routine combined with a nutrition routine that will help improve some blood values for people. So what this comes back to is sometimes people come to me and they'll have diabetes, arthritis, some other conditions like high blood pressure, high cholesterol. And what it comes down to is they usually have gone recently to a doctor and got some blood work done, and they found out that one of the values was a little high or abnormal, and they decided that they want to do something about it through nutrition and exercise. And I think that's a great thing. Oftentimes doctors will prescribe medicine right away, or the person themselves just ask for medicine, and they don't realize that you can fix a lot through nutrition and exercise. Now, medication does become necessary in certain cases, but there's also certain cases in which medication can be reduced. The need for the amount of medication can be reduced, or it can be actually completely eliminated. So I've done this for clients in the past with various health conditions. So what I was going to go through today was kind of the basic program that I follow when I'm working with clients with this goal. So first of all, what we do is we take a look at their training routines, and we structure it a very specific way so that way we can cover all bases in terms of the results that they would want. So you can use training for fat loss. You can use it to increase muscle mass, increase strength. You can increase muscular endurance. So there's a lot of things you can do with training. So what we try to do is we structure their workouts to kind of encompass all of those goals. So we want to try to, by improving their overall health, so fitness health, like physical health, by decreasing body fat, by increasing their strength, increasing muscle mass, increasing general cardiovascular and muscular endurance. All of that combined will help kind of normalize their blood values. So depending on what the problem is, we do have to modify the training a little bit differently. But overall, there's a general theme that I follow, so I'll go ahead and break that down right now. What we do is we start out their workouts. Usually the workouts are structured for under an hour. So Brutal Iron Gym, our training sessions, we schedule people for an hour. And what that does is usually the workouts will last 40 to 50 minutes. And it gives us about 10 to 20 minutes to talk to the client. We can talk about what's going on in their life, how their food has been the past couple of days, if they've had any injuries or any nagging kind of soreness, anything like that. So it gives us a chance to talk to the clients before we have to go through the workout. So sometimes you might go through a gym and they'll have 30-minute training sessions, and very rarely can you get a significant amount of stuff done in 30 minutes and also still have a chance to have a personal connection with the client. And also one of the biggest things I feature with my clients, and what I try to tell them all the time, is that I try to teach them as much as I can during the training sessions, so that way eventually they don't need me. So I actually try to put myself out of business. So by them learning what we're doing and why we're doing it, that's the best thing I can ask, that's the best thing we can do for them, is so they can learn this stuff and apply it on their own. So I try a lot, I try really hard to educate the clients as much as possible. So again, the overall kind of structure we use for this goal is we start out with interval cardio, and I usually choose to do low impact. And what that means is types of cardio or forms of cardio that do not cause a lot of stress to the joints. So, for example, running. I'm not a big fan of running. What that does is when we're trying to improve overall blood values, usually what ends up happening is we put them on a lower calorie diet than what they're used to. So it's not severely low calorie, but it's usually a little bit lower than what they're used to help kind of cut off some body fat. So whenever someone's in a lower calorie state than they're used to, the body doesn't really heal up things quite as fast as it normally does. So if we're also doing resistance training, we're tearing up the muscles, then we want to make sure that the body is able to fix and repair those muscles. So if we do a form of cardio, such as running, or anything that's really high impact like jumping, what that does, it causes stress to the joints, the tendons and ligaments, and usually they don't have enough calories left over from the muscle damage and from daily activities to really fix those joints very well, or at least at a very at a fast pace. So what will happen is they'll either develop a nagging injury, like they'll just say like their knees kind of hurting them, or their elbows are hurting them, or their lower back is hurting them. They'll just complain about some little spot on the body that's kind of hurting. And usually what that is the body's just not able to fix itself fast enough to keep up with high impact cardio. So I choose to do low impact, and the most common form of that would be on like a treadmill. So they can just be a walking pace on a treadmill, and you can set different resistance, different speed, so incline, stuff like that. We also, at the gym, we have step mills, which is kind of like a never-ending staircase. You just keep walking and walking and walking. So we have those as well, and they're pretty low impact. And then some other things I use are implement training. And what that is, if somebody does sled drags or sled pushes, we also have big battle ropes. They can do some battle rope work. We have sledgehammers. There's a whole bunch of stuff we can do. So it's really just getting the person to kind of move around their body weight and to get in a low impact fashion. Now we want to do this with intervals. So for most clients I use a 2-to-1 ratio, which is 2 minutes of high intensity to 1 minute of low intensity. And the amount of, like what classifies as high intensity and what classifies as low intensity is different for each client. So if the person comes to me and they've never worked out before, what they perceive to be high intensity is probably going to be lower than what maybe an athlete would perceive as high intensity. So you do have to modify that depending on the person. But again, it's 2 minutes of high intensity, so pretty much the best that person can do for 2 minutes, the most intense that they can handle for 2 minutes. And then we back it down for 1 minute of a really low intensity and try to let them recover before they go into the next 2-minute session of high intensity. So they use that 2-to-1 ratio, and we usually run that for anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes. So if a person can do the high to low intensity for a full 20 minutes, what I'll do at that point is I'll just actually keep increasing the level of intensity for the high intensity, and or I'll increase their low intensity. So just for arbitrary sakes, let's say that they're walking at 10% incline at 3.5 miles an hour, and that is their high intensity. So 10% incline, 3.5 miles an hour. And then for their low intensity, maybe they drop it down to 5% incline at 3 miles an hour. Well, if they can do that for a full 20 minutes, what I'll do is at their high intensity, if it's 10% incline at 3.5 miles an hour, we might move it up to 3.8 miles an hour if they can walk that fast. If they can't walk that fast, we'll bump up the incline to maybe 12%. So you just try to increase some level of the intensity, and you can do that through speed or incline, or if you're on like an elliptical, you can change the resistance, and that will also change the intensity as well. So again, we do 10 to 20 minutes at the beginning of the workout of low-impact interval cardio. Then from there, we go right into strength training, and I kind of break it up for most clients into lower body days versus upper body days. For lower body days, I tend to use squats and deadlifts, and for upper body days, I'll use bench press or some type of overhead press. It might be a clean and press or just a strict overhead press, but we do usually split up into lower body days and upper body days. And for the strength training, we always make sure that the form is absolutely perfect. So you never let the person use bad form. You want to make sure they're nice and safe and things are always done correctly. And we'll do sets of 5, maybe sets of 3s, or work up to some heavy singles, so sets of 1. But again, we always make sure the form is correct so that way they're not going to injure themselves. So we do the strength training right after the interval cardio. The interval cardio works as kind of like a warm-up. And then we go right into the strength training when the muscles are as fresh as they're going to be for the rest of the workout. So we don't want to do the strength training at the end of the workout when we've already done some other stuff that maybe cause the muscles to be pre-fatigued, and then they'd be more likely to be injured during the strength training. So we do the interval cardio, then the strength training, then we move on to mass training and or muscular endurance training. So if the client does not really want to get any bigger muscles, then we might skip over the mass training. However, even if it's a female, she says she doesn't want big muscles, but she tells me that she wants nice shape in her arms, I'll go ahead and throw some mass exercises in for the upper body, for the arms, say biceps and triceps and shoulders. And what that'll do is then it'll creating a little bit of curves, a little bit of musculature to the arm, and that'll make the image that they wanted. So sometimes when people say they don't want big muscles, but then they say they want to see their muscles, 9 times out of 10 you actually got to get the muscles a little bit bigger so they can actually see them. So also cutting down body fat will help you see the muscle mass as well. But again, you kind of want to, I usually work on both. So instead of just taking one approach, you might as well do both. You make the muscles a little bit bigger and you cut the body fat that's over top of it off. And that'll help improve the look. So for mass training, I usually do reps in between 6 and 12. So they'll reach perfect form failure, or about 1 rep short of failure, in between 6 and 12 reps. And that's most likely to build muscle mass. And again, that's as long as it's assuming that they're eating correctly, they're eating enough calories, eating enough protein to actually build that muscle. So if they're training in the 6 to 12 rep range, but they're not eating correctly, they won't build muscle at all. So muscle building is dependent on your nutrition. And then for muscular endurance, I'll use rep ranges anywhere from 15 up to 50, maybe even 100 reps. And what we do with that is I usually use mass training and the endurance training as kind of like a circuit. So I'll pick anywhere from 2 to 4 exercises, and I'll have them perform them back to back with no breaks in between each exercise. And we usually start either one end or the other. So we'll start down towards 6 or 8 reps for 1 or 2 sets, work up to 10 to 12 reps for 1 to 2 sets, and then go over 15 reps for the last 2 sets. Or I'll go the opposite direction. I'll have them perform a couple warm-up sets in the 15 and plus rep range, and then we'll work our way up in weight and down in reps towards the end of the workout. So it depends on how the person's feeling. If after the strength training they're kind of really exhausted, pretty fatigued, I usually start with the higher reps because that's a little bit less demanding than sets of, say, 6 or 8 reps. So again, that kind of comes down to personal preference and individual clients' abilities. But that's how we structure the training, is it's low-impact interval cardio for 10 to 20 minutes, then immediately into strength training, and then we do mass and or muscular endurance circuits. So that type of training, that structure of training, what it'll do is, assuming the nutrition is correct, it will help them decrease body fat, it'll increase strength, increase muscle mass, and increase muscular endurance. So they kind of get the best of both worlds, or all worlds, with that structure. Then as for nutrition, I have made videos in this Ask Rob video series that already describes the 2 main methods that I use for clients looking to improve their overall blood work. And the one diet scheme I use is called a carb-fat rule diet. And what that is you have a rule on how you can eat carbs and fats. So basically every meal you'll eat protein and either a carb or a fat item. So if you go into, on YouTube, you can search for Brutal Iron Gym, and you can find the Ask Rob video series. And it's video number 3 that is titled Carb Fat Rule Diet. So if you watch that entire video, that will give you the basis or the premise of that diet. And that is one of the schemes that I use. The other scheme that I use for people, nutritional scheme, is carb loading. We either do back loading, which is eating your carbs after the workout, or we do front loading, which is eating the carbs before the workout. Really, in its most basic format, is if you backload the carbs, meaning you eat the carbs post-workout, that helps with recovery, it helps with muscular growth. And then if you front load the carbs, where you eat the carbs before the workout, that helps increase performance. So it depends on which option the person wants. And if the person is already pretty lean, they can actually do both. You can actually front load and backload the workouts. If they're slightly overweight, I'll tend to pick one versus the other for the person. So we'll either front load or we'll backload. And what that'll do is it really helps them cut down their calories. cut down the body fat. So the overall calories don't really reduce too much. It's just cutting down the body fat, which is the main goal. So in that carb loading video is Ask Rob video number 5. So video number 3 is the carb fat roll diet, and video number 5 is the carb loading diet. So again, you can check out those videos for full details. Each video is, I think, over 10 minutes, so I don't want to go through each one right now. This video would be like a half hour long. So just check out those videos for the full details. But that's what we do with clients, that's what I do, with clients that have blood work issues, is we structure their training, as I mentioned in the first half of this video, and then we follow either the carb fat roll diet or the carb loading diet. And both of them, what they really do is they're designed to control glycogen levels in the body, and they help control insulin levels. So if someone's diabetic, the carb loading might not work that great because they're going to be going zero carb or very low carb for most of the time, then all of a sudden they have these huge carb meals. So that can create too much of a variance. So I'll tend to use the carb fat roll diet, and what that does, it creates a little more even pace in terms of insulin levels throughout the day. So there is, for certain conditions, one diet that's better than another. So that comes down to understanding which one's which, and that's what I do for the client, is I tell them which one's which, and then we make modifications depending on their individual needs. So that's basically all the information. So if you have any questions about this, you can contact us at www.brutalirongym.com. You can find us on Facebook at Brutal Iron Gym, and you can also find us on YouTube if you search for Brutal Iron Gym. Okay, hopefully you guys found this video helpful, and go ahead and put it to use. I promise you're going to get some good results. Okay, thank you.